Hi! For my arts unit, I decided to do a second grade history standard, and the title of my unit is called Change Over Time. The history standard that I use each day basically says that artifacts and primary sources can be used to show change over time. Okay, so for my first lesson, I have three standards. One is the history standard that shows change over time, and then I have two language arts. One says that we can describe what happened to characters when major events happen in their lives and throughout the story. So we're going to read a book about Amelia Earhart and how she was a pilot and how she changed aviation forever, especially being a woman, so that was a big deal back then. And then the multiple intelligences that are used in this first lesson are interpersonal, working because they're working in groups; existential, because they're thinking about things deeper than just here and now; musical, because I'll be playing 1940s music in the background because that's when Amelia Earhart was a pilot; and then linguistic, because we're reading a book. And then the assessments that I have are going to be a worksheet. That's what they're doing in their station today. After reading the book, they're going to go talk about it deeper and think about things in a collaborative way. And then the other assessment is just through observation. For lesson number 2, we have the history standard again, using artifacts and pictures to show change over time, and then the language arts standard about working in groups collaboratively to discuss topics from text and pictures. So today we are doing a T-chart, so this is where my graphic organizer comes in to the unit to show past and present. And so I'll have different items, everyday items that we use, such as cars, clothes, food, prices of food and everything, and we are going to compare those in a T-chart and talk about all the differences that we see. And then for their station, they're going to go back in their groups and they're going to do their own T-chart, kind of like a matching game. And so once they're done matching each of the items, they can take a picture, so that can be my way to assess them, because I can't get to every single student before everyone's done with the game. So that'll be how I assess them. The multiple intelligences are going to be interpersonal, because they're working in groups again, and then bodily kinesthetic, because they get to move things with their hands and be hands-on that way. And then, like I said, the assessment is the worksheet, or the picture of the matching game from the end. For lesson number 3, we are going to be making the foldable during this lesson at their stations. So it has the two standards, again, the history showing change over time, and then the language arts working in groups collaboratively. So we are going to start in our table groups today instead of at the carpet, and each group is going to get a different picture of a landmark or a part in our city. And then on the back, it's going to have what it looks like 50 or 100 years ago, and then on the front, or the opposite side, it'll have what it looks like today in 2019. So the kids can just really have a hands-on look front to back to see the differences in 10, 20, 30, 40, however many years of the difference. And then they'll stay in their groups, and we're going to switch the pictures around to the different tables so that each group can get to see different parts of the city. And then for the last picture, I'm going to put it up on the smartboard, and it's going to be of our school. And so what it looked like 100 years ago, or however far it goes back to where there's a picture. And then we're going to go outside and examine the school and take notes and write down all the differences. So it's just kind of a way to get the kids involved and outside. So that being said, the multiple intelligences are interpersonal, they're working together, bodily kinesthetic, because we're getting to move, and then naturalist, because we get to go outside. And then for their assessment, they get to get into groups based on whatever their favorite picture was of a landmark or place in the city, and they're going to draw it, and then they're going to write about why they liked it and tell me a couple differences. Okay, I was wrong. It's lesson 4 that the foldable is in, that they're doing at their stations. So for lesson 4, it's going to be the same 3 standards as the day before, the history, the language arts, and then the fine art, because they're going to be drawing again and doing the foldable this time. So today I'm going to bring in ads and old pieces of fabric from the 1900s or even 1800s, or even just patterns that they used to wear, and the kids can pass those around in their small groups and really just explore them and write all about them And then this is where they're going to pick their favorite thing that they saw or heard about, whether it was an ad. So, like my example was clothes, because that was what was most interesting to me, is what changed. But some people could like cars and see how much they've changed over the years. So you're going to pick your favorite thing that you saw today, and then there's 3 sides of the foldable. So one side, you draw the old item and you write something about it. The second side, you draw what it looks like now and you write a fact about it. And then the third side is you write the differences between the two. So that's really showing, compare and contrasting, and what it used to look like. And then that'll be the assessment. And then the multiple intelligences for day 4 is bodily kinesthetic, because they get to use manipulatives and hands-on. Interpersonal, because they're still working in stations every day. Intrapersonal, because they get to do this foldable on their own and kind of have some alone time to just relax, pick their favorite thing, and do the foldable. And then the last one is linguistic, because we're reading through newspapers. For the 5th and final lesson, we have the history standard again, and then a math standard that says that students can add and subtract within 1,000. So this would be towards the end of the 2nd grade year. So first we will all come to the carpet and have a number talk. I really want to base it around numbers that are in the 1900s, because those are the years that we're looking at these old artifacts and pictures. And then we will talk about the new pieces of technology that have been coming out since then, and everything that helps us in today's world, like everyday items like food, stamps, clothes, things like that, cars. And then they will go back into their small groups for stations, and they will do this math worksheet. Each group has 4 different items, daily items, and they have to find both the price difference as well as the difference in years. So some I made from like 1953, some are older, some are newer, and then they have to subtract that from 2019, or vice versa. And then there's also the difference in price. So it's a really fun way to tell how time has changed. So the assessment for that would be the worksheet at the end, as well as observation. And then the multiple intelligences are interpersonal, because we are having a number talk all together and listening to each other's ideas and opinions. Intrapersonal, because they get to do the worksheet on their own. And bodily kinesthetic, because they're back and forth to the carpet. And then logical or mathematical, because they're using numbers.